Grandpa, tell me the whole story of the Model A.
The whole story. Okay. Well, what happened? Uh, it started way back when I was a teenager.
Okay.
In the summer, I'd work all summer long. My dad couldn't afford to pay me any money. And so he said, what I'll do with you every year is at the end of the year in the fall, I'll give you a steer, you know. Okay. And so he did. Well, my brother came back from World War II, and he first job he could find was a mechanic at a Ford Motor Company down there. A little guy that had a dealership, and he worked on cars. Banks was a tremendous. My oldest brother was tremendous. He's like you, very smart and very talented, and he really was good with mechanical things, you know. And so he called me up. He didn't call me. He come by, saw me, you know, and said, "Avi," says, I got a good deal for you down there at the Ford dealer." He said, I said, "What is it?" He said, "A guy is selling his old Model A because he wants to buy a new car." And that was probably in 47 or 6 into the war. And then people could begin to get some money. They went back to work, their old jobs as mine, and they wanted a new car. And so, okay. And so I said, "Well, okay, well, how much is it going to cost me?" He said, "Well, I'll make a deal with you, Henri." He'd got married and they had one kid. He said, I will buy the car and sell it to you if you'll give me your steer for meat and they could afford to get a deep freeze in where they could process and keep their meat. And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And so I had it there on the farm, and he helped me get it going good. And one night after a rain, a bunch of us kids got in my car and we went up this road, dirt road, and going a little too fast. I hit one of those areas where the road water had washed out a little gully. I hit it and I broke the rear spring. And so I got it back home and parked it. I didn't say anything to my parents about my foolishness. And their dad said, how come you're not driving your car?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to tell you, but I broke this rear spring." He said, "Oh, okay. What are you going to do about it?" I said, "I don't know. I got to get some money to do it." And so I'll just park it here. And I did. And then in 49, they had one of the largest snowstorms it ever had. 18 inches of snow fell in that little Arizona city farm area. And by April, they had a tremendous warm rain like this, you know, when it comes off like off the coast of California, went down through El Paso, and it cuts off through Arizona. And it rained off and on for 40 days, back and forth, and it melted every bit of that snow. And the first part, it was a massive flood came through and flooded the whole valley. And so then it dried up. There's no water, and they just started drilling wells then because they could get electric pumps and put them in the wells. And we went along, and I was there, and this guy that had a well rig he had made up, but he'd used old Model A engines because they'd last a long time, and he used them on his drilling machine. And he said, "Hey," I overheard him with that, say, "Hey, Clarence," he says, "how about me trading me that Model A for part of the well expense?" And he said, "Well, I can't do that. It belongs to my son." I said, "I'd sure like to buy that because I like it because of my engine I got now is not too good, and I know that has a good engine in it." And he said, "Yeah, it does." And so when the guy left, I walked over to my dad and said, "Well, you just traded in on the well because, you know, it's going to help them." And so, goodbye, Model A. And he took it up to his place and stripped the engine out, and it sat there, and then pretty soon they come around, and some guys are collecting all kinds of metal, and the old man just throw that in your junk and take it too. So that there went my Model A. So then when I moved to California, in Monrovia Ward over there, this bishop, he had been a bishop for 22 years there in El Monte. And so he was quite well off. And just he and his wife was there at the time because his kids had all married and gone. And he went up to Wyoming on a vacation. And he found a 1-ton Model A truck and this car here. And he got it, he figured his sons would want to build them up and drive them. And it sat there for a long time. And after a while, he asked his son, don't you want to, I want to give these cars to you and your kids. Well, Dad, we're not interested in that kind of stuff. And so then one day I was there down at his house, and he said, but Aubrey, he says, you know if anybody's interested in a Model A 1-ton truck and a Model A sedan, I've got them for sale. And I went out and looked at them. I said, oh my golly, let me talk with my partner. My one nephew had retired from the company, so we were buying him out. And I went and said, hey, I got a chance to buy a 1-ton and a one in the sedan. And he said, well, let's buy it, find out what he wants. And he said, well, he says, I really like you. So I'm just going to ask you to pay me what I've got in them. And I don't even remember the amount. It was a couple $1,000s. And so we bought them. We brought them to our place, and where I had my little shop. I set them back in there and just let them sit there. And they sat there for probably 10 years, and because we were so busy with the business. And then I said, well, I'm going to resurrect that old truck, because it'd be fun, And I did. And we just had this one kid, hired him to come and work. He's just out of school, and he's getting ready to go to college. And so he come and worked, and he had built a Roadster, Model A. So he knew how to do old stuff like that. So we went and worked the engine. We got the engine running. It sounded good. Transmission was solid. So then we started doing the body work and repairing the bed. It was a wooden bed, but then we put seats in it and got it finished. And then my nephew got married, and they used that to go from the church where they got married. He married a girl that was not a member, and they had it at the church, and then they were going somewhere else for the reception. So they drove through all these streets in the back of that truck with their wedding gear on, And so I kept it there. Finally, I moved it up to the house and parked it. And then about that time, I started working on the sedan. And I had the heart attack. And I thought, well, there goes my cars and stuff. So I got through that, survived all the surgeries and everything. And I got back, and then it told me I had cancer. So I went through that, and I get Lord bless me, and got through there. And so we come back, we went to work and finished it up, And we got it pretty much where it was at. And then I did a little more to make it run a little better. But I could never get that carburetor to come around because I sent it out to be rebuilt. And like you say, it wasn't going to work because the pump was not working. And then with the crushed gas lines, when you revved it up, it wouldn't get enough gas, so it'd die. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's where we're at. It just set, and I brought it home, put it in the garage, and set it there. And then when we decided to move out here, I sold my 1-ton to a couple that has a little avocado farm down here, about one of these towns south of here, and they bought because they wanted a little truck to haul their grandkids around and to do different parts of the farm for activities. So they bought it, and I wish that I could have kept it, you know. But I didn't have room out here for the 1-ton and the other car too. So I moved it out here with us and it just sat in the garage. And then as time went along, I was just, by the time I was retiring, I just couldn't do much, you know, anymore, and age-wise. And so that's the way I ended up with it. And then I talked to you good folks, and you said you'd work on it, you know. And so it's a dream come true. You finished it off and shared it, and it's another addition to the family treasure, you know, because it's a family car. And anybody wanted to use it could use it, you know, if they want to put it in a parade or something. And so that's how I come about getting it. And it's just, I found a guy that had them, and he had brought them down from Wyoming and wanted to get rid of them, and he gave me a good deal, so I bought them. And then finally I started doing stuff to them to get them to run. And both engines in those cars were real good. And then when I decided to move, I had all the parts, the engine and all that stuff, and one night somebody come down and stole the whole thing. Took all my parts, you know. And so that took care of any parts I had for the original Model A, you know. And so then they decided before then to put that V8 in. That's why they took the engine out of that sedan. And I didn't want to dampen their spirits, and I wasn't in any shape to help, so it ended up the way it is. A lot of mismatched stuff, Ford rear end, Chevy pickup, the engine and the transmission, and parts here and a part there, and then they cut 2 inches out of it, and I come back and I thought, oh my golly, what a mess. And so I got it, measured it, and did a lot of grinding to get everything the same height, and so it'd be pretty true. And then we welded it up, sanded it down, and got through with pretty much. And then took it down, had them reupholster it, and it sat in the garage for a long time. And then when I tried to come out here, I noticed that it was not running right. So I parked it. Did work on it. So the master mechanic come along, fixed her. So that's the way I got it. Worked in it all summer for beef and traded it for that old one in this car. It was the same as my old one. Yeah. I always wanted to get another one, you know. I felt real bad because I probably could have quartered Polly in that old Model A, and that would be something to really remember, you know. But I sold it, let them sell it to help get the dad some more money for the well. Well, that's the story of that thing. And then with Jaleesa's help, it's now a beautiful running machine. Wow, thank you.
This drives pretty good now, huh?
Oh, not even the same car. That's for darn sure. Got it all cleaned up, nice, neat. Beautiful. Great job, well done. Oh, you made that?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice of you. You think of everything. That's the top one or what?
Yep, that big round one.
Up and down.
There you go.
What a smart deal.